I'm gonna put it on the computer. Welcome to Probate Weekly. I'm Bill Gross. I'm at Bill Gross Probate on social media or BillGrossProbate.com. And this is Probate Weekly. We do this every Thursday morning. We record live on Zoom at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Love to have you join us and ask questions. I moved it from the afternoon live so that more people could come in and ask questions live. And we moved it from a platform where we record to one where we have Zoom calls to encourage agents. I think we all need to be more interactive and learn how to interview better and ask good questions and play along. So feel free to join in. If you want to, you can register at probateweekly.com. Just put your email in, and you'll get a link to come in on the Zoom call. While you're there, you can scroll down and see the other formats for podcasts and such, or previous episodes on YouTube. And I'm Bill Gross, and I'm just really a practitioner in the Los Angeles area. So I'm building a national platform of agents across the country. I'm not selling anything. I think sometimes when you see a different company being interviewed, there's like, well, how is he making money on this? And the answer is, I'm really not. I really believe in this for myself, my own business, and this is a company that I've referred people to. And I think for you, if you're a real estate agent or even an attorney that may not do these kind of plans, this is an opportunity. I'm really lucky today to have returning guests. Second time, he's going to get the coveted second time gift. Michael Salazar with trustandwill.com. Hey, Michael, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me, Bill. Excited to be here.
And he's not just here because he's a good looking guy, but he actually is an expert on explaining the trust and will offering, which I think is really important. And at first glance, I think that, realtors might say, well, why am I learning about this? And I think a couple of things I would say. Number one, to succeed in real estate, you have to have a niche. You have to have something that you do better than your competition in your market. And that niche has to create value for prospective customers. Otherwise, why would they pay attention? Yes, you can dance on Instagram in a bikini if you're really good looking, but if you're not, like me, you have to find a way that you bring value to your customers. And in particular, what I like about Trust and Will is it is a service that every one of my customers either has already done, which is very few of them, or should. Every homeowner in California should have an estate plan. And 99% of the time, that means a trust of some sort. And as a realtor, I know if they do or not because they pull up title and it says if they hold title in their name, John and Mary Smith, or in the John and Mary Smith Trust. So I know right away it's a question I can ask that shows I care about them, I create value for them. Now, there's a whole range of trust and will services from what I call kind of templated online services that are very simple to maybe I would call Trust and Will maybe a step up from that, which is an online service that's a little more sophisticated, to the very sophisticated that require, attorneys and also people who want hands-on. And the other thing I want to say before we start here today, just to kind of share my experience, is I think in business today we have this whole surge of anonymous online services. Think Amazon, Google, Facebook. Think in real estate, Zillow and Redfin. And they have their place, but the reality is there are also people and there's a place for good, high value personal touch. And so I think companies like Trust and Will, absent us, is just an online service, but we as real estate practitioners can elevate their service and more importantly, the value to our customers by being the oil in the gears to make the process work better. And so that's what I've done. I've used it to my customer satisfaction, and that's what I'm bringing here today. So I'm really excited to have today Michael Salazar. So first off, Michael, just give us your role at Trust and Will. Like what's your day-to-day operation? What's your title? And what are the main things you work on a regular basis?
Yeah, of course, Bill. So just to introduce myself again to everyone, my name is Michael Salazar. I work for Trust and Will. I'm a lifelong San Diegan, so just down the coast from Bill here.
Now he's bragging, everybody.
And what I do, what my role here is to help financial advisors and financial planning firms implement Trust and Will as an easier and more accessible estate planning option for their clients. So just for a little bit of background, most financial advisors, most financial planning firms, of course, they're talking about estate planning with clients, but it's not really been a point of priority up until the last few years. Now clients are looking for truly more comprehensive, more holistic planning services, and estate planning is one of those that is in highest demand. The issue that a lot of advisors or financial planning firms are facing right now is they'll introduce clients to a network of local attorneys, and the clients won't necessarily feel really eager to get that done because of a lot of reasons I think that can be assumed, right? First of all, it's scary to think about or talk about death. Uh, Second is I think it can be time consuming, multiple meetings with an attorney in order to get these documents set up. And third, and probably the biggest one, is going to be cost, right? For people that have more straightforward needs, they're not always really excited to go spend $3,000 to $5,000 with a local attorney to get set up with documents that are going to satisfy their needs. So my role here is to help really kind of try to change behavior around estate planning in the financial advising and in the financial planning space. Help advisors feel a little bit more open to using a tech solution and help them understand exactly where we fit in and exactly what clients we can help them with.
And so their firm is trustandwill.com. Even though the logo has an ampersand, it's really trustandwill.com is the company. And again, if you listen carefully, his focus, and I think it's always important to find out like where's somebody's bullseye, and then maybe we fit on the periphery, or we can make that connection between the two. The focus of those financial advisors, which is primarily people that will help you if you have liquid assets, cash, stocks, bonds, and such, and how to manage those. And those companies often will say, hey, by the way, I notice I'm taking your assets in your name. How come you don't have a trust? And they will look for a resource. In some cases, they'll look for a local attorney, and that gets them some referrals. In trustandwills.com, it was interesting. I had met them along the way. My son-in-law was the head of a tax department for a wealth management company, regionally well known in Santa Monica, Gerber Kawasaki. Ross Gerber is the proprietor. And they were like a approved vendor where a financial advisor, and I think they have, I don't know, 20 or 100 financial advisors, salespeople who are helping get business and then helping customers with assets. And kind of as a default, yes, they might look for local attorneys that they could get referrals from as well. But the company established this relationship, and my son-in-law had reported they had really good service with them. And so that's when I kind of took it from just talking in general to saying, hey, this is a legitimate firm, and there are other competitors that try to look the same, but this, in my mind, is really the leader in this particular space. There are other companies online like LegalZoom that do general law stuff and do something competing. But again, this is their primary focus. And so that's why I got involved with them. So let's talk about estate planning. And so you work with estate planners or wealth managers. Why is it important for an estate planner to offer this service to the customer? Meaning, anytime you talk to a customer about anything other than your primary offering or value, you're distracting them. They must see your service as adding value to their relationship. So why do you think that is, or why is that?
Yeah, so great question. I think there's really two different sides to answer from, right? The first one is, why is this important to the client? Well, first of all, they probably don't already have an estate plan, which is going to provide them a lot more peace of mind around what's going to happen when they're no longer here. And as we'll probably get into, what can happen in the event where they're incapacitated, where they go missing, and they're not able to act in their best interest. So I think what's really important for financial advisors, financial planners, or any financial professional that wants to talk about estate planning is to lead with education, right? Why is this so important for making sure that you can ultimately control your legacy? You can ultimately control where everything that you work so hard for is going to end up. In which ways is it going to be distributed? And then also thinking about some of the kind of end of life planning as well. When you think of like funeral arrangements, memorial service, end of life care, and then the documents that can still impact you while you're still alive, like setting up your HIPAA authorization, setting up a healthcare directive so you can decide what type of care you'd receive. If there, maybe there wasn't a path to recovery. I think it all comes back to peace of mind. The reason why a client would be working with a financial professional in the first place is because they want their expertise and they want to feel more peace of mind ultimately around their financial situation.
Notice, I'm sorry to cut you off, there's a piece of gold there you left back about 2 blocks. I'll make sure everybody picks up, which is that he said that the relationship between the estate planner, or I'm sorry, the wealth manager and their company is leading with education, which is what I do in my business and what I'm challenging you as realtors to do as well. You could lead with your good looks and charm if you're better looking than me and more charming than me, and most of you are. But I think rather than that, my goal has always been to educate consumers, educate attorneys, educate vendors about what I do and how I do it. So they go, wow, you can help me with this. Not only can you help me with this, you might be able to help me with that.
Mhm.
And so that's why the education, I think, and I know that Trust and Will has really embraced that. And we're going to talk a little bit about some resources for available for you. So um, how do you support the estate planner who refers customers to you with educational resources? What are some of the things you do to make it easy for them? And I have your website up, and so you can direct me to wherever is appropriate. But I think where the places that you offer help. And again, these are obviously places that we as realtors can either emulate, and then you also have some resources for that as well for us.
Of course. So first thing I'll say there is we do have education built into our entire process when somebody is actually creating an estate plan. So as
Mhm.
they're being asked questions, they can really learn as they go. The place where I'd direct you right here would be kind of like the top right where it says learn. If you hit that, that's going to take you to our Learn Center. And that has hundreds, if not probably over 1,000 articles right now for education around estate planning. And some of them are very, very in the weeds and some of them are a lot more straightforward, kind of frequently asked questions like, what is the difference between a trust and a will? What is probate? Why do I want to avoid it? What does the process look like if I pass away with a trust? Or what does it look like if I pass away without a will? Maybe an article about California's estate tax limit. So there's a ton of education here, and you can really search by keyword in order to find information that's going to be relevant to you. What I'll point out here is that this is something that is available to anyone that has access to the internet. So it helps honestly drive a lot of people to our website to get more education. If they're asking Google a question, they're probably going to find one of our articles and be able to find a lot more info. Now, when thinking about how do we support the advisor, we do have a ton of resources that are specifically built for advisors to hand to or send to a client. So one pagers on kind of the same subjects, like what is a trust versus what is a will? What are the 5 essential estate planning documents that everyone needs, and why are they so important? What's really been the biggest hit, the most used resource that we have for advisors or for other financial professionals is a checklist. It's a checklist of all the most important questions that we are going to ask a client as they're going through our process. And that's not a resource that we say like, hey, everything here that you write is written in stone, but it's really a way for a financial professional to just facilitate an effective conversation with a client around the types of questions that they'll be asked, the most important decisions that they'll need to make, and also, building some education into that conversation so that clients understand what they're going to be asked, what they're going to be setting up, but maybe more importantly, in order to drive urgency, what they don't already have a plan in place for.
So again, to go back to one of the pieces of gold that he dropped along the way, and for some of you, this is a new concept. Um, he talked about the fit of their service versus maybe more complex alternatives. And this is where I think realtors get concerned, like, well, can I promote them? How my attorneys going to react? Here's the thing to think about. If you had 1,000 people who were talking to you about getting estate plans, and of the 1,000, let's say 900 went to trust and will, but 100 needed a more sophisticated plan, you'd have 100 leads to bring to sophisticated estate planning attorneys. If it was 10 leads, 9 went to trust and will, and 1 went to that attorney. The attorney's going to love you for the 1, not worry about the 9 they didn't get. In fact, they might be glad to have you help them sift out the 9 they may not want. On the flip side, the attorneys who want to do only sophisticated estate plans might be glad to refer them themselves to trust and will. And because those are people who might come back later in time. People who need estate plans. There are people who need sophisticated plans, either because they inherit money or they build a huge business. Well, that's down the road. But we don't want to ignore them until they get to that point. And so, again, this is about fitting with your prospects and you fitting with your customers and using as a resource in the middle. Now, your content online, I've done this myself, so I know the answer. Let me just ask it. How would you feel about when I go into your content and post that on my LinkedIn or Facebook page? Hey, here's a great article on the 5 things you need to have. You guys love that. That's why you put it there, right? It's for us to share it.
Exactly. Yeah. So everything that's posted as an education piece or article on our website is shareable, and that is super intentional. We want people to be able to share information about estate planning, whether it be with their professional network, whether it be with their clients, or with their friends and family members. This is something that we think needs to be a more normal conversation.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And here we are as real estate agents, and we go, what do I talk to my customers about? I do classes on email campaigns and how important it is as a realtor to stay in touch with our clients. And I propose that we should have a email to all of our client database with the same content on our social media at least once a week about real estate. And they'll say, what do I talk about? You could literally go on the Trust and Will website every week and pick a document, and that's you're covered for the next 20 years. I mean, they have, I'm sure, over 1,000 posts at this point. And all you have to do really is read the article. And this is just the whole thing is so silly to me because I've been begging agents to do this. And Michael, I know you're a little bored in the sense I've been doing this on the call because I feel passionate about this.
Yeah.
Here's an example. I'm going to start at random, pick an article. Boom. Here's one. Um, this is a great one, actually. Actually, I reposted this when it came out. This particular one of all. Trust the Will's new study shows most Americans deeply unaware of the cost, timeline, and emotional toll of the probate process. I just scrolled down and picked that at random. But here's the thing: I could write a sentence. I could read this. It says a 3-minute read. They even tell you up front how long it takes to read it. My gosh, they've done everything but give you the crayons and the bubble gum. You could read this article in 3 minutes, and you would then, and this is exactly what I did. I said, most people believe it's gonna, then have no idea what it costs.
Mhm.
10% believe it's $1,000 or less to go through pray, where the answer is going to be a lot more than $1,000.
Yeah.
And so I did was I read this and I summarized it in my words and said, most people are unaware of the cost of probate. I found this great article by Trust and Will. A couple highlights are A, B, and C. Click here for more details. And I sent it out to my database as well as posted on my social media. Literally, you can do this. They have, like I said, 1,000 articles would be one a week for 20 years. I'm sure at the end of 20 years, they'll have some more. Michael might be retired and living in San Diego. But for the rest of us, it's as simple as that to educate your clients and become an expert, A, yourself, because every article you read improves your knowledge, and then B, to present the expertise to your customers as education. Okay, am I my soapbox too much on that, Michael?
No, no, I think that that's fantastic. And I'll just kind of reiterate, like anything that is on our website is shareable. We want you to share it as content. We want you to be able, like you said, Bill, to enhance your own estate planning knowledge. Because like I was, kind of saying before, there's a big stigma. And I mentioned earlier, trying to change behavior in the industry of financial advising or financial planning. We want to do the same thing just for thinking about estate planning in general society, because it's something that you wouldn't necessarily bring up on a dinner date, or you wouldn't bring up at Thanksgiving dinner, right? That can maybe get a little bit uncomfortable, but we should feel comfortable having these conversations with our loved ones, with our friends about legacy, and making sure that even though it is an uncomfortable conversation to talk about, thinking about death, talking about death, we want to be sure that it is normalized, similar to other pieces of a financial plan.
And so I think, I often think if I wrote a mail email sequence one a week, and if I just took one of those articles and I wrote a couple sentences and linked to it, and copied and pasted the graphic in the email so it looks pretty,
Mhm.
I think agents would pay me money to do that every month. Really, but the problem is the emails wouldn't be in your voice. You are the one that needs to read the articles to, one, learn the material to become the valuable expert to your customers, and then two, write the few sentences in your words. No offense to Michael and his team at Trust and Will. Their posts are written for their audience. You need to translate it, not just in English, but translate it in the tone and in the manner of communication for your clients. You're better at that than they are. That's why we're human beings. We have to interact together. And so every agent here says, I don't know where to start. If this is a niche that appeals to you, which it obviously appeals to me, and I do this all the time, this is an easy fix. Once a week, go on to this website, read the article. It takes 3 or 5 minutes, summarize it, link it, copy and paste the video. They have the image. They do a really beautiful job. This is nice material that your customer probably to get. So, okay, Um, that's the general topic of working. Now, the other part about it is, I think, showing a professional relationship. And I know that when I first came to you guys, both as a customer, I learned the system, but also as a professional, you had a not an affiliate that paid me money, and not that I would want money for it. In fact, generally, I don't want anybody to pay me anything. I want to be able to recommend to customers because it's good for them. But you did offer some sort of a program where I could give them a discount and then share that and even track some of those discounts. Is that program still available? And can you walk us through that?
Yeah, 100%. So we've set up a free product for financial professionals in order to refer clients to Trust and Will and track their progress to make sure that they're actually getting it done. Once you sign up for that free portal that we call the Advisor Dashboard, you'll also gain access to a lot of the resources that I've talked about today. In order to access it, just to do some quick promotion, you would go to trustandwill.com/advisors. Now, advisors is kind of like a blanket term that we use for financial professionals that are using Trust and Will. You don't need to be a financial advisor or a financial planner in order to use this. We do have plenty of realtors, especially realtors that I've actually met with that have heard of Trust and Will through this podcast in order to
Right.
streamline this process. So yeah, Bill is showing it right now on the screen, but again, trustandwill.com/advisors. You can set up your account with an email and password. It'll take about 1 minute. And then at that point, you have the ability to start including a referral link in messages to your clients so that they can get a 10% discount off of our, already great prices on our site.
And obviously, to those who are on the call, what does it say when a company like Trust and Will is giving you a 10% discount for your customer to use? How's the customer look at that? As wow, this guy has been vetted. He understands the value of the process. I think it's really a nice sign of commitment and expertise to the process. I much rather give the customer a discount than get affiliate income. I always feel like the affiliate income, it just always feels slimy to me. I don't know how, maybe that's just me, but I much rather have more resources for my customer, which this gives probably more than I would want, meaning I'm not really going to track their estate plan process. Unless I'm doing a transaction with them, in which case I want to get it done. Let's talk a little bit about, I think, where the complaint against your genre of service, not your company in particular, but the genre of an online, if it's working without an estate planner, is that the customer is more on their own to do a couple critical things. Number one is to follow up with the funding of the estate, right? You create a great plan, and I think of that as like a great safe deposit box you might have in your house, or not a safe deposit box, but what's the word I'm looking for? A place you might put valuables and stuff. And you get one, you will it in your closet, and it's there, but you'll put the money and gold and stuff in the safe. Well, you're going to get robbed. It doesn't really help you. You have to put stuff in the safe. And same with the estate plan. You create a great plan, and then you put the things in the plan, including, and here's the key for realtors, the real estate. And the where so many estate planners fall down, and if you've noticed when I interview them, I always ask the question, how involved do you get? Some estate planners insist on follow through until everything's in the estate. Some give very detailed instructions and have a series of follow-up emails and such. And where I think the online systems fall down is they don't have that personal relationship. It is harder. Now, I know with your financial advisors, they have the ability to watch it on the dashboard if they want to get involved to follow up, right? Which means we as realtors can get involved. We have the additional steps. So let's talk a little bit about that challenge and then how does Trust and Will address that particular challenge, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that trust funding is probably the thing that gets overlooked the most, regardless of how somebody is setting up an estate plan, whether it be with a digital platform like Trust and Will or the documents are set up by an attorney. I'll often hear from advisors, hey, the attorney, same as you guys, is helping my client set up the documents, but they're not helping with the retitling of accounts or, the deed transfer on their property. So what we try to do is, I've said a couple times here already, is lead with education.
Mm.
Once the client finishes the plan, they're going to have a few next steps. Of course, signature and notarization of those documents is super important. But if they've set up a trust, we're going to provide them with a comprehensive trust funding guide. And that's going to have instructions for retitling all the necessary accounts with how to do that. Of course, it does look different at every institution, but we have general guidelines to approach the institution, what to say, and what information that you should use when filling out those forms that they may need filled out. The other thing that is super important, especially with this conversation, is the deed transfer on property. Now, here at Trust and Will, we cannot do the deed transfer ourselves. We don't do that as a company. However, we do have a fantastic partner that I do want to plug here just because they
Oh,
do amazing work. They're called UDeed, the letter U, the word deed.com. If someone's setting up an estate plan with Trust and Will, we do have an integration with them where the client can continue working with a representative from Trust and Will in order to complete their necessary deed work. Or they could go directly to udeed.com if they wanted to just work directly with UDeed
wow.
as well.
That's worth the phone call today because I get asked about that regularly.
Yeah. And I'll say what advisors and other financial professionals really love about UDeed as an option is that they can do deed transfer and recording with the county in every single county in the United States. So
Wow.
they'll actually record the deed on your client's behalf. Your client doesn't have to like go into the county office and submit a form. They can do everything from home, just like they could in their experience using Trust and Will.
I think as real estate agents, we can't prepare the deed either. Attorneys can.
Mhm.
They may or may not want to, and they all have their reasons, right? I prefer the attorneys that do. I feel like, you know, when somebody says, it's risky or that, I feel like that's what we're paid for, is to take on reasonable risk and approach it in a professional way. That's my personal philosophy in general. And so when I refer somebody to a more comprehensive estate planning service, an attorney, I would say as a minimum, I'd only refer them to one that did the deed for them and did the notarization and did follow up on the recording and handle that all in-house. That said, you can save a lot of money at trustandwill.com if it's a more of a basic. And the fact that you offer this, because you didn't offer this when we spoke previously, this is at least in my understanding, a newer piece to the puzzle to solve that problem. And there's also a service that I use that does online notary, which is fantastic. It's
Mhm.
really like a Zoom call notary. And so now you can have the deed sent out and the customer can e-sign and have the notarization done. And we as realtors can follow up because we're not preparing the deed. We're using the service to do it. We're just helping our customers effectuate the job that we want to do and put ourselves in that position.
Yeah. Real quick, along the lines of the digital notarization. So I believe that digital notarization is one of the most important pieces for making a ironclad estate plan easier to access,
Yeah.
easier. Um, Unfortunately, in almost every single state, the state will not recognize digital notarization of estate planning documents in particular. There's only a handful of states that has approved that. California is not yet one of those states. We are working very hard, lobbying in several states to try to get them to approve digital notarization for estate planning documents, and it's been extremely tough. For
Yeah.
reasons I'll let you guys kind of make assumptions
Yeah,
about.
I don't see that happening with all the fraud. I think unless you figure out a way to solve that problem, I can understand why. But just to draw a distinction here, what you're saying is the estate planning documents can't be notarized. What can be is the deed. Once you have the estate plan created, i.e., the safe, you can take the deed that was in John and Mary Smith and using UD create the deed from John and Mary Smith to the John and Mary Smith Trust that's created. That document creates the estate plan has to be signed and notarized with a human being, but the deed can be done online, and that's the part where it falls down afterwards. I think sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're on the subject, I'll just point out because this is a question that I get from pretty much everyone that I talk to about Trust and Will. They want to know about notarization. I always promote, the most accessible option nationwide is probably your local UPS or FedEx store. They
FedEx.
Yeah, they'll always have a notary on staff.
Yep.
You can come on in and get documents executed right there.
Yep.
Um, I'll point out some banks and credit unions will notarize estate planning documents. Others won't touch them.
Yep.
So if you want to go that route, they may offer it as a free benefit, but I would call in ahead of time just to be sure. And then lastly, when you do complete a plan with Trust and Will, we give you access to our mobile notary directory. So if you want to have someone, come meet you where you are, or maybe meet them somewhere in public, like a coffee shop to get that service, you can coordinate that through our mobile notary directory as well. So there's plenty of options.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
but I think, if you've got clients like all over the place, or they're just looking to save some money, that local UPS or FedEx store is probably going to be the most accessible option.
I've used FedEx and UPS and both. And the nice thing about them is they all now have, we can email them the document. They'll print it for the customer. So it doesn't have to go to the customer's house and the customer doesn't have a printer and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And then they either scan it and can email it back to you and or overnight it back to you, UPS or FedEx. And so really that's a great tip that I've used numerous times. And yet the mobile notary is also an important part. So that's one of the benefits of working with Michael with Trust and Will. Okay, real quick, so just some housekeeping. If you'll give me just a minute, I'm a little late on doing this, but we're going to jump in here anyhow and get that done. This is Probate Weekly. We do this every Thursday morning live on a Zoom call, 9 a.m. All you have to do is sign up for it. ProbateWeekly.com. We also have a Facebook group where we continue the conversation. I'd love to have you post any content that you have regarding, though, specifically probate or estate planning or trust related. We don't really want just general real estate open houses and that stuff, but that's the Facebook group as well. You can sign up at probateweekly.com. Just put in your email address and you register, you get invited to the Zoom link. You can scroll down and we have the other audio formats, Spotify and Google and Apple and all those things. And then you can see the past episodes on YouTube as well by clicking here. And again, today our guest is Michael with trustandwill.com. We go back to the main one, trustandwill.com, which I think is, I believe they're the market leader. I've used them personally. I've referred customers to them regularly. And I think they're the leader of the online trust and estate planning service. And again, for attorneys that are listening in, I don't want to deny that there are people who need a more personal, more sophisticated plan than Trust and Will is probably going to do as a general rule. But when I've asked many attorneys, and almost all will say, 90% customers are better off even with a bad plan than no plan. And Trust and Will is certainly not a bad plan that's proven. I mean, how many plans you guys written? I know you have like tens of thousands of advisors set up. You must have done millions, maybe not millions, but tens of thousands of plans by now, I'm sure.
Yeah, we at this point we've helped over 800,000 families complete
There you go.
estate plan,
There you
which is incredible. I mean, we definitely have a tall task in front of us to reach our goal of helping, at least 10 million families
Wow.
complete a plan. But we're moving really quickly. I think some of our partnerships have been extremely helpful with that. But I want to go back to your point when talking about comparing us to an attorney. We're going to be the first ones to say we are not the right fit for everybody. Not every American family should use us to create an estate plan. I would say, generally speaking, we can probably satisfy the needs of about 90% of families that don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And there's certainly situations where an attorney is the only solution. Like if a client needed to set something up where they had specific event-based distributions, where it's like, hey, maybe my daughter needs to graduate with her master's degree before she can receive anything, or hey, I have a nephew that is dealing with addiction. I need him to pass 5 consecutive drug tests and hold down a job for 6 months before he can receive anything from my estate. If you want to set something up like that, an attorney's going to be the better fit for you. Or, if you have a wealthy or ultra wealthy client that is exceeding the state or federal estate tax threshold, they're going to need to sit down with an attorney. Those high net worth, ultra high net worth cases are not the best fit for us. Our bread and butter, generally speaking, has been in that like $2 to $4 million range. Someone who owns their home, they are probably like a dual income household. They have a couple kids. They want to make maybe a contribution to charity when they pass away, and they want more peace of mind. That's really been our bread and butter.
Sounds like my son-in-law and daughter, who kind of confirmed your choice as a vendor a long time ago. So shout out to Michael Malk. And I think the other thing I'd say to those listening as real estate agents is this is not a substitute for your local estate planning attorney as well. In fact, the opposite. This gave me momentum to start talking to customers because people call me all the time and say, hey, I need a estate planner. I ask the question, well, where are you located? Because geographically, I know some in some areas. I don't know some in others. Great. You have an idea of the size of the estate. Are there any specific issues with it? And if it's more sophisticated, I want to send it maybe to an attorney I have a relationship with. If it's more, I would say standard, the 90% kind of fat middle, Trust and Will is a perfect answer for that. But you also might find a local attorney who wants to compete with them price-wise and offering-wise. And I think that's okay. You can use Trust and Will to generate leads, and some will go to them and they'd say thank you. And if some of those leads end up going to somebody else, they'd say that's the price of business, and their job is to compete. And so I think as a real estate agent, we want to have a Rolodex that's ever increasing and of value to our customers. And so you should have, I'm in Los Angeles, but I have contacts in the Valley, in LA Metro, South Bay, Long Beach, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, male, female, standard pricing, high net worth type of attorneys. I think it's important to have a Rolodex, but to me, trust and will is kind of the default standard. And I'm looking, is there a reason why they might need somebody else? If the answer is no, send them trust and will. If the answer is yes, send them where they need to get that extra service they might need. And then finally, no matter where they go, whether it's an attorney that you meet outside this or trustandwill.com, get involved in the process of the deeding of the real estate. Be of service. Help your customers. Send them a copy of the deed so that they can report it properly as they set the forms or to the attorney. And then offer to follow through on getting the deed prepared and recorded using udeed.com. You can't do it yourself, but certainly you can use a professional service, recommend one that will help them. Or if it's multiple properties and sophisticated, maybe an attorney is appropriate, get involved even more so with those people. So that's my take on that. So final thoughts here, Mike. Well, anybody who has a question, jump in, raise your hand, put a question in the question box, and we want this to be participative. Anything I missed, Michael? What are the key opportunities that we have to help our customers get estate plans done that we're missing out on?
Yeah, so two things here. I think the first one would be, as a realtor, you're looking to provide extra value in any way that you can to make a good impression, and also to hopefully get some referrals to their friends and family. If you can help them or connect them to an easy way to get them set up with an estate plan, I think that's fantastic to say, yes, my realtor did a fantastic job. And also he or she made sure that we put the home in a trust, and now we feel a lot more peace of mind. They would, I'd love to connect them to you. I think that that's fantastic. The other thing that I want to kind of showcase here, Bill, if you don't mind sharing your screen again,
Mm-hmm.
there's something that I think you'll find really interesting that's new on our website. Go ahead and hit that learn button again. Now, up at the top, you see the banner. It says California, don't have a will. Find out what would happen if you died tomorrow. So kind of a crazy thing to say, but go ahead and hit that. And you would need to sign up to find out, but I just want to highlight this. So this is a way that our company is leveraging artificial intelligence in order to inform people of, based off their current situation right now, the assets that they have, their family structure, and the state that they're in. If they passed away tomorrow, what would probate look like for them? Right? What potential fees would be taken out approximately based off the state average? How long would that take? And then, who would assets primarily pass along to? Who would be the person in your state that's actually entitled to receive your assets if you don't have any sort of document that outlines what you want? So this is something that we're beta testing right now in
Nice.
I think a couple other states, but it's really going to be helpful for people to immediately understand the implication of not having anything in place.
Okay, so I'm going to give trustandwill.com some free marketing advice.
Yeah.
This picture undermines the purpose here, because what you're saying is, if you don't take control of the state will, that should scare somebody. You need this picture of this cute lady with a cute kid, and that could be my grandson. My grandson's about the same age. So I'm warm and fuzzy. I should be scared to death. What you should do is say, we have a plan, and this is the picture you should show. It should say, it's kind of like the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's just not as service oriented. That's the one that I use, because people, when they think of motor vehicles, they remember the last time they were in that line, now serving number 5842.
Yeah.
If you make this picture you guys have is just too nice. Like I don't mind if that's what it looks like. I'll hang out with them. But I think that really this is what probate feels like if you don't have an estate plan. That's what it's going to look like for like a year or two. Versus your trustandwill.com program, she can have a laptop and with the grandkid on her or the kid on her lap. So I'm gonna give you some free marketing advice. I'm just teasing. But thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think it's really exciting. And I think, again, as agents, our opportunity is to go through this process and share with our customers. It's not stealing. They want to share this information with your clients for free. There's no cost for this. And again, for every real estate agent who's looking for a niche, to me, this is an obvious one. That's an opportunity for you. So, okay, I think that kind of wraps up. Michael, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for your time today and sharing trust and will. And the UD, that's something I'm going to definitely explore as well, because I do get asked about that regularly and refer it to attorneys. And there's no reason for a basic deed that needs to be corrected. And through an estate plan, especially, there's no reason to do that. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you as always, and look forward to talking again soon sometime.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Bill, and for everyone who's listening. Really appreciate the time.
And for the rest of you, this is probateweekly.com. We do this every Thursday morning, 9 a.m. live on a Zoom call. Love to have you join us in live and interactive and ask questions and such. We continue the conversation on Facebook. The Facebook group is Probate Weekly. If you want to register, go to probateweekly.com, put in your email address, and you'll get invited to the Zoom call, as well as you can scroll down and sign up with the podcast links on other audio formats or other formats that you like, and see the past episodes on YouTube. Our guest today was Michael Salazar from trustandwill.com, but it's online spelled trustandwill.com. And there's other competitors and there's other companies with similar names, so don't get confused. They're, I believe, the largest in that industry and the leader, and I've used them as a consumer, and I've also referred customers there and been really happy with their service. So thanks so much. And feel free to add Michael on LinkedIn as well. They have a LinkedIn page, and feel free to add him in. And there is his link for that as well. We'll put that in the show notes. So thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.